back to another episode of The Last of Us Talk Show. I'm your host, Mikey, and today we are talking about doing our instant reaction of The Last of Us Season 1, Episode 8, When We Are in Need. This one was directed by Ali Abbasi, starring Pedro Pascal, Bella Ramsey, and then our newcomers for this episode were Scott Shepard playing David and Troy Baker as James. If you didn't know, Troy Baker, he is the voice of Joel in the video game. So it was fantastic to get to see him here in the live action role on the show. You know, it was a great performance by him, and I think the way he wanted to be honored in the TV show, he got to do from what I've heard. So very happy for him for that. And just happy about this episode in general because this was a fantastic episode. You know, again, the setting is great. We know it's in the middle of winter right now, so they did a great job of portraying that. I mean, I saw behind the scenes stuff where, yeah, they actually were, out in the freezing cold snow, recording this episode. They weren't on a stage somewhere; they're out in a real environment. So that's why it feels so real when you see them outside in that cold snow. They actually are out in the cold. The actors are actually cold. So, great setting, and then just the yeah, I don't want to this is the instant reaction where we're not doing spoilers, right? So I'll say that story wise we got to see a lot, and for people who are wanting more action, hey, you got some action out of this episode. We got suspense, we got anger, hatred, plenty of violence. If that was stuff you were wanting to see a little bit more of, you got it in this episode. But we also got a healthy dose of love and compassion in this episode as well. So that was great to see. You know, especially at the very end of this episode, right? Because the way this episode ramps up, again, to me, why it's important that they didn't do and they weren't over excessive with our characters like you would in a video game, like going through dozens and dozens and dozens or hundreds by this point of infected and humans. Like now when we get to an episode like this, it actually feels that much more intense and that much more powerful, that you see our characters having to do and go through what they went through in this episode. So again, that's why I really appreciate just the more grounded level storytelling that they've been doing for the TV show. I feel like I saw online somewhere somebody complaining that the body count for Joel that we've seen on screen was still in the single digits, and it was like and I was just thinking, compared to what, the hundreds that it would be if it was a video game. If you transferred that over to a TV show, I don't think it would come across as well. It would, again, to me, it would come across as campy, and I don't want this story. As somebody who's been a fan of this story for 10 years, I don't want people to be exposed to it the first time and feel like, oh, well, this is just a campy thing, right? So really love how important it felt in this episode that our main characters were actually in like mortal danger here. And again, just Bella Ramsey, we've seen it now from our last episode that she can carry episode, and now she gets to do it a second episode in a row. Just the way she carried this episode again with just her facial expressions, her body language, and then anytime she has to express, like anger, like that guttural yell that she does when she's like, you know, either angry or upset, is just amazing, amazing. You can't help but feel for the character when she goes off like that. So yeah, for me, this was a 10 out of a 10 episode. I can't wait to talk about it and break it down in our spoiler review. But yeah, just know that this, this was a really good one. I hope that you've watched it by now. But if not, this is the non-spoiler episode, so hopefully you listen to this and then realize like, oh, I better go sit down and watch this episode right away because it's a good one. But yeah, that's going to be it for the instant reaction. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, that you are following, leaving written reviews, and commenting if you're watching on YouTube. In fact, if you're watching on YouTube, let me know what you thought of this episode. If you are a game player like me, are you really satisfied about the scenes we got in this episode and how they were portrayed in the TV show? My goodness, I thought the scenes that they pulled directly from the game to the TV show here, I thought they did fantastic. And then if you are somebody who's just been a TV show watcher, let me know what you thought of this in general. I mean, I know you didn't know this was coming. Me as a game player, I knew these things were coming, and I was prepared. And it's still, it's still traumatizing and shocking to see the events that we get in this episode, and to know and learn the things about the people who are in this episode that we see. Right? It's just like, just straight up disgusting. So let me know what you thought about that. If you're just a TV show watcher and you had no clue that this was coming. All right. Until next time, endure and survive.